Hello everyone, Gabriel here, and this is an overview of the Murder Mansion project that is now open for editing. The first thing you want to do is come here into the Create tab in Core and Create New. The third option, Community Projects, you browse. And yeah, it could be that you see it right there, but you want to search for Murder Clean. I've made this clean version where I've removed all the scripts and objects that weren't being used. I've organized the hierarchy a little bit better. So don't use this older one that is a little bit messy. It's the same project more or less, but this one's a little more cleaned up. You can call it whatever you want. Murder. So let's jump in here and take a look at this project. The first thing I want to point out is the hierarchy structure. It's organized in a way that has these three folders at the top that are more about the rules of the game and the user interface, and these are the important parts that make the murder game what it is. And then these bottom three are more about the level design, and so you can see these being the ones that change the most. If you want to keep the murder game but put it in a different setting, change it up. You're going to be changing these bottom ones more. Or if you like this environment, you want to change the rules of the game more, you're going to be messing around with these top three parts. So let's take a look at all this. The first thing I want to do is hide this user interface. You can toggle these on and off during edit mode. It makes it convenient while you're working, and these don't stay when you hit play. These come back automatically. These is just for editing convenience, make your life a little easier. The first thing is the settings folder right here. You can see it's got the basic things about the game, if it's a first person or third person or what have you. This is just the off-the-shelf first person component that you find here in core content. It comes with this package, but this script right here has been added. So this is the death spectator camera from community content. Put it as a child of the camera here, and this is what you see when you die. Your camera starts following around another player that is alive. That's this component right here. The next thing I want to show is in the gameplay folder is this weapon equipment switcher. This is a really important script. It's what gives the player their initial equipment. This unarmed equipment here is what gives player the ability to wave at each other. So even if you don't have a gun or a knife or anything and you left click, your character will do a waving animation, and you can see other players waving at you as well, and that's what this unarmed piece right here is. All three can be changed. The gun is right here, so this is a reference to the gun object. If you right click and find in catalog, it'll locate the bystander gun right there. That's the object that gets spawned and given to players. And the knife is right here, is the third option. The clue total is how many clues players need to get before they earn the gun. One player starts with the gun, but other players can collect the clues, which are these are spawned in place of these blue discs right here. So these you don't actually see when the game runs. You'll see they'll just disappear, and the clues will spawn instead. You can more or less ignore these bottom four properties right here. The knife, gun, and unarmed sockets are more for internal purpose, and the basic game state machine is linked down here. It's used internally by the script. It's not really important to change these, but these top ones are the most likely places people will want to edit. Another important object in this folder is the telltale heart. This is what gives the killer the ability to see other players that are standing still. So if someone isn't moving, you can hear their heartbeat in 3 dimensions. You can hear where it's coming from, and then you can see through the wall their little heart pulsating, and it makes it easy to locate. It motivates players to keep moving around. But if you don't like it, you can just delete this whole folder or change it or whatnot. It points to the heart object itself that gets spawned and attached to players is this guy right here. And you can bring any one of these templates into the hierarchy and press F to focus on it. You can see it. You can even see it through the terrain like that. So let's not leave that in the hierarchy. That's the telltale heart. The next thing I want to go to is the user interface. And in this folder, we turn that back on. you can toggle through the visibility on each of these things, and you can sort of see which one, if you're trying to find one specifically, you can toggle through and be like, oh, okay, maybe I want to change that icon. That would be that one right there. And the tutorial one is this middle one. The message banner is this top one right here that the tutorial was in front. The clue display is up here. It'll show the number of clues, and each of these has some properties that you can change as well. That's the user interface. The terrain is interesting. Let me hide the UI again. The terrain is more cosmetic in this game. In a lot of games, terrain is an important gameplay element, but here it was done more cosmetically. It's this outside part. We can toggle that off and on and see the result of disabling terrain. It gives it the mood, sets the setting. It's a little creepy. But in here in the courtyard, it's the grass foliage is done with the terrain engine. So even if terrain is off, it'll still work. You get this ground, which is not part of the terrain. That's a 3D, just a mesh rectangle. But with the terrain on, you get the grass. So that is what's changed. These trees are actually not part of the terrain or foliage. You can bump into them. They have collision. They're regular objects that are at the scene. Even if terrain is off, you can still see them. The lighting folder right here. So this is the skylight, sort of what the ambient light would be in another terminology. But there's a bunch of options here. You might want to play around, set a different mood for the game. The fog is this last one. If you turn that off, you can immediately see how different the game looks. So in terms of look and feel and emotion, this folder right here is one of the more important ones. It gives the whole mood, which also makes me think about ambient sound, music, or crickets, that sort of thing that could be added to this map as well. It currently doesn't have much in terms of ambient sound, but I would consider including that in this folder right here as well. The level design folder has a bunch of important things. We can again toggle these on and off to sort of get a feel for which is which. Let me turn off the fog to get a better look at some of this geometry. So this is the house per se, and if you wanted to switch the setting, put a castle or do a sci-fi version of this game, you definitely want to replace. This is the Core Royale mansion. And the spawn points, you can see them scattered around when the house is turned off. It's really easy to see. So why don't we go and take a look at the clue spawners in a little more detail. So what I want to do is add a new clue spawn point. And I'm going to come here into the enabled clues. It's these objects right here. All these that are inside the enabled spawners folder. If you want to disable a bunch temporarily and test the clues spawning, you can select as many as you like and put them here into this disabled spawners folder, and then they won't be used by the script. The script will only use the ones that are in this folder right here. Let's create a new one. So we select that one right here. We right click, say duplicate. It creates a copy right there. Let's move that over. I want to place it right here in this spot. That's the spot I want clues to appear in. Let's bring that down. Oops, I selected Control Z my way there. Press F to focus in on an object that's selected. Yeah, there we go. I like that spot. We can leave that there, or we can delete it or delete some other clue if we're not happy with the positioning. And that's the clue spawning, but the script itself has some important properties. So here the starting amount is how many clues, when a round begins, how many clues are spawned into the world. So right now it's set to 12, which might be a little high. This is the upper limit of how many clues total. 2 clues won't spawn on top of each other. That's part of the rules of the script. It's not going to use the same spawn point twice. But it'll go up to 20 or whatever number you put here. This is the period between spawning. So as the round progresses and people are collecting clues, new clues get spawned at 30-second intervals, except that for this last property right here, which is a bonus subtraction from this time, so per player in the game, right? So if there are 10 players, then this will be 10 1 times this number multiplied by how many ever players are in the game. That gets subtracted from that number, and that's your period. And what this is trying to do is, if there are more players in the game, it assumes clues are being consumed faster, so it has a little bonus to spawn them a little faster if there's an increased number of players. You know, if you go up to 16 players or something like that, then nobody will ever be able to find the maximum number of clues to earn the gun. So that's where this this number right here, you can change it as well. Whatever, you can set it to 0 if you don't want this feature. Finally, the spawn points. If you press V to reveal these sort of you know, squares and spawn. These are the spawn points right here. They're scattered throughout the map. Right now there's only 5, which might be a little low. You might want to, you know, duplicate these and add them throughout the game. If you have a 8 or 16 person game, something like that, then 5 spawn points is probably not going to be enough. You want to have at least 1 spawn point per player. It'll still work even if you have just 1 spawn point. Players will spawn next to each other in a group around the spawn point. It'll still function, but the more spawn points you have, the better the game. At least 1 per player. It'll feel better. The next thing I want to show is how to customize this game further. One of the things that I can imagine players wanting to do is switch up the weapons instead of a gun and a knife to put some other things. So let me show how the game is working right now. I'm just going to hit play up there, make sure that multiplayer button is turned on. That button right there is enabled. You hit play there and it'll launch a couple of windows, 1 per player. Here I selected 2 people, so it'll launch that window right there, and then this window right here. Let me shrink them down a little bit. And we have our 2 windows here with the 2 players. That's how the multiplayer preview works, where this is acting as the game server, and then it spins up 2 windows to represent the players. So here it says murderer. This person has the knife, and you can left click to attack and right click to throw the knife. And when the knife lands, you can pick it up again as the murderer. Other players cannot pick it up. And this person right here has the gun. We can simulate a 3rd person joining the game by pressing this button right here, and this person should not have a weapon at all. They should just be sort of the person that's trying to collect the clues and get and earn a gun that way. It has a reload, about 5 seconds. So let's switch it up. Let's add, this project comes with a chainsaw that works for the knife slot. So let me show you how to switch that. You can search here in the templates and project content for the chainsaw equipment. You drag that in with the script selected. So you select the script, you come here to templates, you drag the chainsaw into this slot in the properties view. And that should be enough to just get the chainsaw replaced. Let me demonstrate it real quick. So the round is starting up. We have 2 bystanders. And after 5 seconds, the round starts. This person now is the murderer. There we go. The chainsaw does not have the right-click ability to throw, but that could be implemented if you want. The icon is still the icon of the knife, as you can see in the lower left. Press 1 and 2 to switch between them. Now, let me show you where the icon is here. So you might want to change that if you're changing the weapon. That's here in the weapon display, so let me show the UI again. Weapon display, icons, knife and gun, and here we go. Here's the knife icon. Right now it's turned off. We can turn that on. There we go. Let me Control Z that, put it back to where it was. So that's the knife icon. You can double click here and switch it to something else or customize your own icon. You can combine multiple images together and put them as children here if you want to make a custom icon or something. Next up, let's switch the gun. So the gun, one of the things I want to do with this map is put a crossbow here instead of the gun. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. Here in core content, I know already that there's a crossbow. It's called advanced crossbow. I can drag that in here. And I want to test it real quick. I'm going to hold shift and press equals on the keyboard, and that'll spawn me in place. This is sort of a single player preview of the game. In editor, I can pick up the crossbow. It already works. This is what comes from core content. So for this to feel good in a first person murder game, we need to do a few changes. First of all is this posture. It's at the hip. And the reload time is pretty fast for this game. It's like 1.5 seconds. So let's do those two changes first. Here it says animation stance here at the root. We delete this last part. We have 3 options. This is what we had before. The aim shoulder is the one we want for third person, looks best. And then the reload ability, if you select that, the cast duration is 1.5 seconds. We're going to put that to 4 seconds. We're going to hit play. Before we hit play, I'm going to select that and apply. So we're going to update the template for good measure. So we're going to, again, hold shift and press equals on the keyboard to go into single player preview, spawning in place here. I'm going to press F to pick that up, and you can see that the posture is now correct for first person game. So that was the first change we did, and the reload time, you can see, is much longer now. It's the 4 second reload, which is more appropriate for this game, perhaps. I don't know, depends. It's a question of balance, how you want the game to feel, how you set those up. And it has automatic reload right now as well. It's automatically going into that. If you want the reload to be manual, delete the script in here. That is the auto reload client, I believe. Is there? No, yeah, there's no server corresponding. There's no server script corresponding. And that is just this one right here. That's the auto reload. If you delete that, then auto reload is gone from the weapon. There's a couple of more changes that needs to be done to the crossbow for it to work for this game. So what I'm going to do next is bring in the bystander gun. That is the gun that's currently used by the game. I'm going to bring that into the hierarchy as well. Sort of compare side by side these two. And the first thing that we need to change is this pickup trigger right here. The bystander gun has this cleared, so all weapons that come from core content have this pickup trigger assigned to this slot right here. We need to clear this for the murder game to work correctly. So if you right click here and say find in hierarchy, it points to where the pickup trigger is. You can see that right there. The bystander gun has it right there, but it's not linked in that property. So the way to clear that is you select the crossbow, you right click here, say clear value. There we go. So we're done with that change. There's one last thing in terms of the pickup trigger as well, because the logic for picking up weapons is quite different in the murder game than the standard core game. So that's why we need to do these couple of pickup changes. There's a script here that comes by default. It's called equipment pickup server. So we just delete that script. And here in the bystander gun, there's a custom script right there. It's not in the server context folder. It's the bystander gun pickup. We can say right click, duplicate, and then we drag that here into the advanced crossbow right there. And the positioning somewhat important, but not that important. It could be at the bottom here or up top. I like to put scripts up top inside of my templates. So there we go. This should be it, except that this script is pointing to the wrong pickup trigger. If we do this, it's pointing to the pickup trigger inside the bystander gun, which isn't what we want. If we delete, we want it to point to its own pickup trigger. If we delete the bystander gun, now it should be cleared. It says it's missing the object. What we do is we drag the crossbow's pickup trigger into this slot. There we go. This is the setup. We can create a custom. We can update template from this, or we can create a new template. We can say bystander crossbow. Make it a little easier to search for if we adhere to this standard naming convention. Makes it a little easier. And then with this script selected, now we can just drag we searched here for bystander before, so it just appeared automatically. We can drag the bystander crossbow into that slot, and now the game will spawn with crossbows instead of the gun. And we can switch back and forth. We have both templates here. We can assign whichever one we want to play with, and it's in that slot now. So let's preview it. Multiplayer. I think I've got all the changes I need. There weren't that many. It's mostly the pickup trigger, which in the murder game is very different from your standard core game. It has different rules. So we had to do a few changes for that. Other than that, it was just the reload time and the posture. So waiting for the round to start here. So we have the murder with the chainsaw, and we have the gun person with the crossbow. There we go. And it's already working. Let's test and make sure that it gets the kill. Move over to the bystanders win. So yeah, the crossbow is working, and this should be all you need to add a new weapon of whatever kind you want. You want to create your own weapon or bring one from community content or from core content and do those few changes to how the pickup is set up and make sure it's working well for first person. When I got the chainsaw from community content, I had to do some positioning changes for it to work in first person because it had been created for a third person game. And that's it for weapons. The last thing I want to show that is likely you might want to edit in this game is the mansion itself. In some of these rooms, you do have some furniture and whatnot, but maybe you want to change it up. You know, here in the attic, you want to add something. You want to add a bed. We can import this right here. It's a twin bed. I can drag that in. Switch to my rotation tool and position it however I like. And you know, decorate up your game, change it up, change the lighting, put some, you know, some light fixtures and stuff, change it up, make it more moody, or if you want to completely redesign the map, you can. This is one of the things that's easy, is a big advantage of core, is how easy it is to change maps, and the game just works, and how compatible content is with each other. You know, people can make random pieces of furniture and things and share them in community content, and then you can just drop that directly in to your game. And in fact, this comes with a floor already. We can delete the floor. We just want this dresser, right? Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking dresser. And that's what I wanted to show. So these are sort of some of the changes that I imagined for the murder game. If you're happy with your map, you want to publish it. It's as easy as pressing up here and publish. You save it, put a little description, and then select some tags. Maybe horror is one you want to check. Other, I don't know, maybe you're making a sci-fi version of this game or whatnot. Select some tags for that. Put a screenshot so you can pick something from your drive. If you want to make a cool logo or something like that, you can use that, or just take a screenshot of the mansion right here. Here we go. Press that button. There we go. We got our screenshot, and you can make it public or you can make it unlisted. Publish that, and then yeah, you're done with that. It'll give you a link. You can share this link with your friends and play the game, test it out, make sure it's working right, it's to your liking, and then you can make it public later. You press that to copy the link. Have fun with this map, and I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Thanks for watching.